Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be ranking all of my Colourpop palettes. So I've gotten a few more, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 new Colourpop palettes have come into my collection recently. And I thought it would be fun to rank all of them that I've gotten in the last 2 years or so. Most of these are still available. Some of them were limited edition or have been discontinued, but you never know with Colourpop. Sometimes things disappear off the website for a while and then just come back. And if you're new here, my name is Colin, and I'm a Latinx non-binary scientist and lover of makeup, especially indie makeup and colorful makeup. And while I am new here to YouTube, I do have new content every week, so I'd love to have you subscribe. So I'll have all my makeup details in the description box below. This lipstick is the Spray Tan from Haus. It's my favorite neutral this time of year, and then I put the I'm Baby gloss from Trixie Cosmetics over it. I've got Colourpop on my eyes, Lethal as my highlight, Melt as my cream blush, and then my bronzer is Haus. So I'm gonna start at 25 and work my way up to the top. The bottom ones of this were really easy. I knew immediately that was the bottom, like five or six. Top ones, these are top 3, 4. Everything in the middle was a little harder, and I'll explain why as I go through. A lot of the middle is not quality. The quality is equal on all of them. It was more color story. The ones at the bottom are mostly there because of quality. So the first one, number 25, is the new Peace Love Libra astrology quads. If you saw my video trying these out, I'll link it here. But this was really bad. So one, this shade doesn't show up on me. It's too pale, so I can only use it to blend out the edges of this one, which is fine. That happens a lot. But what pushed this so far down is the shimmers. The shimmers in this are so dry. They, like, you can kind of see, they've got a bit of a shift to them. They're really pretty color-wise, but they're chalky. Color-wise, these are really pretty, but they're really chalky and dry, and like they don't even have like a shimmer to the eye. Also, apparently someone's blowing leaves outside, so apologize if you can see that. But like, especially this one was the one I was most excited about. It's like a pinky peach with a little bit of a gold to it. It's so dry, like setting spray, glitter glue, just water, finger, none of them. Like, it doesn't even add a shine to the eye. It's not even like a subtle, subtle shimmer or something. Like, it's just so dry that it doesn't even add anything. It just looks like chalk on the eye. It's terrible, and I will not be keeping this one the next time I do a declutter. Number 24, I actually no longer have. I already gave it away, so I'll just put a picture here. I gave it to my sister-in-law, and that was the Blush Crush palette. Everybody loved it. I saw so many people talk about how great it is, and most of the shades in it were such a pale pink that they just didn't look good on me. They didn't work very well. The shimmers were kind of meh. There was one that was cute, but like wasn't worth having. So I used it a couple times and immediately gave it to my sister-in-law because my husband is redhead. She's also a redhead. She's fair-skinned. She likes those tones. So like, I was like, this will work for you, not for me. Quality was meh, but color story, eh. Coming in at number 23, if I forget a number, I'll have them down here, is the Aura and Out palette. So I have all 3 of these, and not a fan of them. This one in particular. So it's their pastel palettes. It looks a little darker on camera than it is in person. Like, this green looks way nicer on camera than it looks in person. This looks like, this is such a pale blue that it just like, it's like a whisper of blue. It's they're so pale. This green is pretty, and that's part of why I've held on to this. These peaches look almost identical on the eye and don't really show up. I've tried them with a white base. Didn't help at all. This green I was excited for because it's their Super Shock, but it's a weaker Super Shock, so like I would put it on and you just hit like, I don't know, it was too thin. It just didn't really show up. So I was really disappointed in this. I know other people were too. These kind of soured me on pastels. So number 22 is gonna be from the same collection. It's the In a Trance palette. So I like the idea behind this. I like that it's pinkies and blues, and then you've got this white, this interesting blue iridescent Super Shock up here. It's kind of the trans flag colors when you count the white. I like the idea behind this, but once again, these just don't really show up. The quality isn't the greatest. I would like to try pastels from another brand, but so far I haven't been a fan. I could technically use these as like a transition shade for something else. I just never grabbed for them just because they just were not great. This shimmer was also kind of dry. You can see, like, at least in person, I can see there's kind of a weird fingerprint to it. This is a really pretty Super Shock, but it, again, barely shows up and is one of the ones that's impossible to pick up with a brush. And then they all have a pressed glitter, and I just never really use those. So, okay, coming in number 21 is the Miss Bliss palette. You can see I'm not a fan of these. This one I dropped not that long ago and broke. 2 shades popped out and completely shattered. There was nothing left in the pan. The rest I was able to put back in that fell out. And what's sad is the 2 shimmers that broke were the only reason I had been holding on to this, because they were a little darker. They were pretty, they worked well. Another reason I don't really like this is I don't really like their mattes with glitter, and this is almost all mattes with micro glitter except for these 2 here, and then these 2 look basically the same. So the only reason this is ranked a little higher than the other 2 were because of these 2 shimmers, but I no longer have them. So coming in at number 20, and this one makes me sad to say because this was the first Colourpop palette I ever bought, and people still rave about it, but it is the Making Mauves palette. I wanted to love this, and when I do wear it, I get compliments that it looks pretty and it's very soft. It is a very soft color story. There's one dark shade here. My problem is these 3 shades up here don't show up on me. This one looks like it should, this solitaire shade, but it blends out to lighter than me, so it doesn't really show up that well. So this Big Fig shade is the main reason I've kept it. I like these 2 shades here, and the shimmers are pretty. This one right here has some hard pan in it, but it didn't work the moment I got it. Like, I've never been able to get it to work. But this one, Mauve on Top and Bi-Coastal, those 2 are really pretty. So basically, these 2 shimmers and these 2 mattes are the only reason I've kept this. This one is fine, but it's got glitter in it again. And then these 3 just don't really show up on me. So I can use them to blend out the edges, but they don't really make much of an effect. And I don't necessarily need to do that because this one is not that dark in the first place. So number 19 is going to go to the All Things Equinox. So we're starting to get into where the quality is better. It's just more color story. So this one was an Ulta exclusive, I believe, and it's also a cool tone purple palette. But it has more variety than the Making Mauve palette, which I appreciate. This purple shade in the middle is really pretty. This is a nice pale lilac. I don't really reach for these pale, more gray tones. They just don't work that well on my skin tone, but the shade's nice, the shade's nice. The shimmers in this are nice. I don't, once again, matte with glitter, but this has 1, 2, 3 regular mattes, 2 mattes with glitter, and then 4 shimmers. So this one, quality is fine. It's not that inspiring, and a couple of the shades, like this just looks really ashy on me. I have grays. I'll wear gray eyeshadow. Those look fine, but this like kind of pale gray purpley, I don't know how to describe this one. Kind of taupe, kind of gray. This one looks more ashy on me than an actual gray. So I just don't use that as much, but the other shades in here are pretty. So number 18 is gonna go to the Like a Virgo palette. So this is from their new astrology quads, or new-ish. Nothing's really new at Colourpop because by the time you get your order, they've already launched 2 new things because their shipping's not the best. This one's cute, works well. Because it's a quad, you can only really get 1 or 2 looks out of it. So I've got, this shade's pretty dark, so put this all over the lid, put this on the outer corner and blend it in a little bit, and you've got you know, 2 shimmers. This one's a duochrome. It's not the most impactful shimmer, but it's better than the Libra one. So you can get a cute look out of this. So that's why I put it here. I think the quality on this one was better too. And number 17, I think, is gonna be another one that people love and rave about, and a lot of people say it's one of their favorites, but is not mine, and it is the Sweet Talk palette. So this was spring like 2 years ago. I still see people talk about this a lot. It's one of their best sellers, and it's pretty. It's hard to film because it's got that like reflective background. The main reason I've kept this is the bottom row. I really like this like peachy terracotta shade. This is a little more burgundy. This one's kind of like, this one's more neutral, but with a little bit of a interesting undertone. The shimmer's pretty. It's kind of similar to one in a Natasha Denona palette, the bronze palette, Bliss, I think, but just not as nice because, you know, Colourpop versus Natasha Denona. This mustard shade works pretty well. It has 2 pressed glitters. That's part of why it's a little lower, and I don't really like these pink shades. Garden Date's pretty. I can get a pretty look out of this. The last couple times I tried to use this though, I felt like it took a lot more effort than I would like. Like I spent more time blending than I would like, and I remembered that was the case before. I spent a lot of time blending for a look that was just fine. But I do like these tones down here. It's just the pale pinks I'm not a fan of, and I don't really like the pressed glitter. The darker shade is okay, but not the best dark matte. So number 16, I think, is gonna be a newer palette from Colourpop, and it is the Fine Feathered palette. I love the packaging of this. The quality on this is actually really nice. It's more the color story that I don't love. So I was lucky that I actually won this in a giveaway, and so I'm really grateful for that, and I was happy to try it. I don't really reach for pinky berries that much. I like a deep berry shade, but I don't really like the pinky berries, and it only has 2 shimmers, so it's got 6 mattes, 1 matte with glitter, and 2 shimmers. So my problem so far with this is a lot of the tones kind of look similar, especially on the eye. So you only can really get like 1 look because you've 2 looks maybe. For a 9-pan palette, it feels limiting. That's my thing. 9-pan palettes can feel limiting or not. This one feels limiting because you've got 2 deeper shades, 1 more purple, 1 more berry. So you can do like a more purpley tone, a more pinky berry tone, and then you have literally 2 shimmers. So 1 more inner corner, 1 more lid shade. The lid shade's pretty. It just blends into the mattes a little too well. So for someone who really likes these tones and would wear that more monochromatic look, great quality for Colourpop, but I just don't really like monochromatic palettes, and this is a little too, this is too monochromatic for me. So number 15 is gonna go to the Taurus palette. This is Never Taurus Apart. They like their puns. I have 2 of these now because they sent me a replacement because this shade came completely smashed. This one was good for the astrology quads. This was one of the better ones. You've got a brown for the crease. This green is really dark, so it's a good outer corner shade. I wouldn't recommend putting it all over unless you want a really smoky look. You've got a pretty duochrome right here. That's like a greeny gold. This is just like a pale gold. The quality on this was fine. It's better than the others, but not as good as Colourpop can be. So this was the one I was the most excited for color-wise, color story-wise, but was just a little disappointing. But not that bad. I'll probably keep the one that's not broken. I just haven't opened it yet. I opened it, made sure it wasn't broken, and just haven't touched it since. And number 14 is gonna go to the last of the astrology quads that I tried, and that's the Cancer one. So this is the Tender Loving Cancer. This one is the best quality of them so far. This one I will definitely be keeping and use. So you've got this little peachy shade here, you've got this dark, cool tone, kind of purpley shade, and then you've got 2 shimmers, and you can see how reflective this one is. It's got like a purple base with a blue shift, so it's a nice duochrome, and then this one's just kind of a lilac. Quality on this is nice. It's not the best duochrome, I definitely have lots of other brands that do it better. I feel like Colourpop's duochromes are just kind of thinner than their regular shimmers, so they're not as shiny. But the quality on this was nice, cute look, will use again, recommend, especially for $9. And then coming in number 14, I believe, is gonna be the Elsa palette. So this was their Frozen collaboration. There was an Anna and an Elsa. I didn't grab the Anna because I had similar tones and other things. I did want it, I just never got it. And it was out of stock a lot. Out of stock a lot. This one's cute. I like the color story a little more than some of the others. It does have a pressed glitter, which I don't love, but, and this shade, Spindrift down here, was a little patchy. And the blue wasn't the best blue I've used, but it was workable. This peachy shade was nice. This shimmer up here was cute. This duochrome was better than some other others. It's like kind of a berry with like a blue running through it. This silver is a really good silver. This one's cute. So overall, it's not like the best palette from them that I've tried. Obviously, it's kind of right in the middle, but it's cute, it's workable, and it's an interesting color story. So the color story is really what drew me into this one, and I'm happy I have some of these shades in an easily grabbable formula. This shimmer. Okay, and the next palette is going to be the She's Got Solstice palette. So this was another one of those Ulta exclusives. Came out with all things Equinox, and I liked this one a lot more. I've definitely reached for this one more. So this is the color story, and you can see it's this like terracotta toned one. I don't like this pink. It's way too pale for me. I could use it as a matte inner corner, but I'm not gonna do that. This So Serious shade is one of their better shimmers. It's really pretty. Actually, all three of these shimmers are really pretty. This green is nice. This terracotta, this darker terracotta is a really good matte. This slightly darker peachy pink, really good. This is just a neutral brown. And then it's got this like really foiled shade, which you can't really pick up with a brush. I have another kind of foiled shade on my lid today, and they're kind of similar. This one's got a little more gold, like straight gold to it. And it doesn't pick up all with the brush, and there's some fallout, so definitely do your face first, but it's really pretty, especially when paired with these terracottas. But the green was really nice. Actually, all the shimmers in this were nice. So basically, the only shade I didn't like was the pale pink. So I really like this. I will definitely keep this. It just makes me think of springtime. So I definitely grab it in that like late spring, early summer. So the next palette is another one that I got in a giveaway. And it is the High Tide palette. Again, love the packaging. The reason it falls here in the middle is the color story. It's monochromatic again, and I'm just not a fan of monochromatic palettes or monochromatic looks. I like contrast. I don't want to do an all blue look very often, an all red look or whatever. I like contrast. I want the shimmer to stand out from the mattes or have a couple different colors of mattes that work well together to blend. So that's why it falls here, but the quality on this was nice. So this is an all like teal color story. So you've got more of a blue here. This one's a little more on the green side. It's got a really dark matte right here. So this is really, shimmer. It's got a really dark shimmer right here called Muscle Beach, but spelled like the mollusk. That's got a little bit of a shift to it. This paired with like Must See right here, make a really pretty gradient on the eye. So this is really pretty. This minty shade was meh, but the rest were pretty. I like the shimmers in this. I like the mattes. I just don't really like monochromatic that much, so I definitely will pair this with something else to mix it up. But otherwise, it's great. Basically, the rest of this is ranked by color story and how much I want to use it by itself and not paired with something else. And the next palette is going to be the Mulan palette. I really like this. This is basically everything from here I really enjoy and have used multiple times. This one is really pretty. It's kind of half cooler tone neutral, half warmer tone neutral. So you can see these have a little more red to them. These are a little cooler. This one's a little like charcoaly, and then there's a black in the middle, and then you've got red and gold shimmers. I really like this. You can, you know, mix and match. You can do one or the other. Some people said that these were pressed glitters and I didn't like them. They're not. They're, again, that foiled formula, which I actually like. This Warrior shade is one of their duochromes that actually shows up pretty well and adds like a nice shift to it just looks interesting on the eye. So like a cool tone look with these mattes in a smoky eye with this, and then maybe like that on the inner corner. Really pretty look, done it multiple times in the winter. Really like that. These reds and golds look really pretty. Like a Girl is a really beautiful foiled shade. I'll swatch. So you can see it's kind of a little bit of a pink taupe to it. Really pretty. Yeah, like a pink taupe. So now we're in like this upper third area. And the next one is gonna be the California Love palette. So I really like this. I would say kind of on par with Mulan. I went back and forth which one I liked more, so they're kind of tied. But this one is just a nice, pretty fall/summer palette, kind of like Natasha Denona Bronze. It's got like this really pretty orangey tone. It's got some terracottas. It's got a dark brown that works really well. This shimmer is really pretty. This shimmer is really pretty. This like gold. It's got a pressed glitter that I don't use very often, but this is one of their better pressed glitters and this looks really pretty. I'm not gonna touch it because it'll get everywhere, but I like this color story. I definitely think it's worth the money. Especially, this just makes me think of fall, kind of like the Mulan palette. I would say those two and the next one are all kind of tied. So I just tried to rank them the best I could, but I'd say they're pretty on par with each other as far as like color story and quality. And then the next palette is going to be the newer Lust for Dusk palette. So this is another neutral palette. And this is actually what I have on today. And I really like the way this look turned out. So this is the color story. You see it's got, again, it's kind of a half warmer tone, half cooler tone, which I enjoy. If you're doing neutrals, I like having both. I don't want necessarily all one or the other. So today I used Horizon and After Dark, and then I used That's Neat on the outer corner, and then I used Quiet Storm and Sunset Chaser. So I used this side mostly. This would rank higher if, I feel like this dark brown, it's another one of those with glitter in it, not the best, and it's not the best brown. It took a little while to blend. Like, it works, but it's not as good of quality as some of the other ones where you put it on and it immediately like blends into the other shades. Like this one was a little patchy at first and I had to blend it. This shade is another one of those foiled shades, so it's better with a finger, not really with a brush. This is a good formula here. Most of the shimmers in this are really pretty. It has two duochromes. The problem is these are, again, those thinner duochromes. So Night Lovers and Miser are both duochromes, and if they were more impactful and not as thin feeling, this would be even higher up. So like, to give an example of what I mean by the difference between the shimmers, I'll do Night Lovers and then Sunset Chaser. Sunset Chaser immediately feels creamier and less dry, and it's shinier. So if I do that on the back of my hand, you can see Night Lovers, you can see there's a shift there, but it's thin. There's not a lot of pigment, it's not very impactful. And then Sunset Chaser, immediately it's brighter, it's softer and smoother and creamier and just more impactful. So this is like a really buttery, nice shimmer. This one is just a little drier and a little thinner, which is sadly my experience with most of their duochromes. So if these two duochromes were as buttery and smooth as the other shimmers in this would rank near the top. Okay, so we're in the top 7 now. This one's gonna be controversial because a lot of people hated this palette, but I really liked it, and that's gonna be the Sailor Moon palette. So like I said before, I'm not a big fan of pastels, especially after trying those tie-dye collection. That's what it was called, the tie-dye collection. But this, I loved. I love Sailor Moon. I love the packaging. It's not showing up on camera very well, but her mouth opens and closes. It's one of that like weird material from the 90s. But this is a really cute color story. You're not gonna get something dramatic. This is more in that like Japanese makeup style where it's a little softer, but it's really pretty. So these mattes up here, I do wish this would rank basically at the top if these mattes had more difference between them. I don't really use this one, but these two are nice. And these colors at the bottom all work really well together. They blend together nicely. They're pretty pigmented. This yellow is really nice. This coral is really pretty. This purple shimmer is one of their better shimmer formulas. You can see how shiny and glowy that is. See, it's even better than the neutral shimmer there. And then these shimmers all right here are neutral, but really sparkly and pretty. So like if I want an easy, sparkly, like light look, I'll grab one of these two mattes and then like one or two of these shimmers, throw them on the lid, mascara, and I just have this like effortless, sparkly look. And then if I want to do something colorful, I can incorporate one of these shades or use them with something else. And then I really like this purple shimmer. So I definitely think that this was a nice palette, and I'm glad that I know there was a lot of controversy where it kept selling out instantly and coming back, selling out instantly, kind of like the Hocus Pocus palette, except for that never restocked. This was the one that kept restocking. And then eventually it came back and it's been around for a while. I think especially on sale, I think it's definitely still worth it. I really like it, and the blushes from this are some of my favorite blushes from Colourpop. The next palette is gonna be the Garden Variety palette. So this came out last summer, I think, and I really like this. I love succulents, I love the packaging. My friend Terrence and I both really like this palette, and I think this is a really interesting, versatile color story. So this and the next one were tied, and I was kind of torn of which one I like more. So take that with, they could switch back and forth pretty easily, the next one and this one. But you've got a really pretty green, you've got this purple row. This dark purple works better than some of the other ones, like better than the Elsa one. This brown here is like a soil brown, and as someone that's worked on archaeological sites and done a lot of stuff and taken a lot of geology classes, I appreciate that this is actually the tone of like soil in a garden. The green here is nice. This gold is really pretty. I think you can get a lot of looks out of this. You've got like peachy pinks here. You've got purples to work with those. You've got neutrals, but they're interesting neutrals. And then you've got green and gold. So I really love this palette. I think it's a great spring summer palette. And then the next one is kind of tied with that one, but I like just a little bit more, at least at the moment, maybe because it's fall. And that's gonna be the first Hocus Pocus palette. Did not buy the new one. It felt lackluster to me. But this one, which they just relaunched briefly and then I think it sold out pretty quickly again, I really like. I think this is the Gather Round Sisters palette, and I really like this as a fall palette. I know a lot of people were disappointed with the color story, but then it still sold out instantly. I don't know. I think people sometimes just like to complain. But I really like this. I love this dark olive. This is one of the darkest olives I have in my collection, and it works really well. The olive shimmer is really pretty. You can do a nice taupey color if you use this shade. Goodbye Cruel World is a really pretty dark shimmer to work with the neutrals. You can do a neutral look, you can do more of a red look, you can do a purpley look, you can do a green look, mix and match. This Brew Potion is another one of those foiled shades, and I just really like this. I'm also just kind of a sucker for olives, and you can see how dark and smoky this olive is. So I'm really happy I grabbed this and I was able to grab it, and I feel sorry for anybody who couldn't and wanted it. Hopefully they keep making more or do more stocks. So number 4 is gonna go to the Little Ray of Sunshine palette. And this was their first all matte palette, I believe, and I really like this. All of the mattes in here are their good formula. They blend really easily, they build together nicely. You've got this bright yellow, you've got some interesting like mustard tones. This one's like a grungy brown. You've got a nice dark warm brown, you've got a terracotta-y red shade. I just think this works really well as an all matte palette for an all matte look, or to blend with whatever shimmer you want, like a Super Shock or an indie single or whatever. But these are all really great, and this is one that I recommend all the time. It's so cute and it works really, really well. The top three are gonna be about what you would expect if you know me pretty well. The next two were kind of hard to place, which one was 2, which one was 3, and the number 1, I knew it was gonna be number 1. So number 3 is gonna go to the Child palette. I think this is adorable. I actually still haven't watched The Mandalorian, but I've seen most of the Star Wars movies. But it's cute, and then the color story is just perfect. This shade up here, just like a Tatooine, it doesn't look like it now, but when blended out, it matches my skin tone perfectly. So if I'm not tan at all, it's a little darker and works as a perfect transition shade. All of the shades in this are nice. It's green. I love green, especially these kind of earthy greens. This gold is really beautiful. This precious cargo shade. A lot of people had come broken, but mine did not, thankfully, and is really beautiful. I love all of these tones, and this is exactly what I want to wear all the time at this time of year, but any time of year, really. It's just quality. Quality on this was great. Color story is great. I love green, so. And then number 2 is gonna go to So Jaded, which looks like it was officially, finally discontinued. And I'm really sad about that. I think this is the best of their big palettes. It's the only one I bought because it's the only one that really interested me. The new one looks cute. It's another jewel tone palette with a bunch of neutrals. And I thought about grabbing it, but there's other stuff I'd rather spend 30 bucks on. But this was one of their Kathleen Lights collaborations, and this is just such a good palette. It's got some great neutrals for daily wear if you don't like color on the daily. It's got a really nice olive green. It's got a nice dark blue. These were all really pigmented, blended really nicely. It does have 2 pressed glitters that are really pretty if you want to use them. These are 2 of the better ones I like. But it's just a nice range of tones, and it's jewel tones, but like grungier, darker, kind of muted jewel tones, which I really appreciate. And I love this. This was in my If I Can Only Keep 10 Palettes video. And this has also been in other If I Can Only Keep 10 palette videos that I've seen. So it's a great palette. Hopefully you have it. It was around for a long time. I definitely think this is one of the best palettes they've ever come up with. And to no surprise to pretty much anybody, I think, number 1 is going to be At Foresight. I think this is the best palette Colourpop's ever done. Love the aesthetic of it, love the packaging. The color story is great. Raw Beauty Christie did a wonderful job. I agree that, I know she said that this was not coming back, but she wants it to, and she would want it to be permanent. And this is, again, a plea to Colourpop to make it a permanent palette, because this is so good. It's got a really beautiful range of tones. It's very fall-y. It's got some really good dark mattes. It's got this really interesting black with like multiple colored sparkles in it. One of the few sparkly mattes that I like. It's got 2 shimmers, but they're both really good shimmers. And it's one of the most pigmented palettes. I think this is the most pigmented palette they've ever come out with. And I know Raw Beauty Christie said she wanted it really pigmented because then if you're pale, you can go in really lightly and build up. If you're darker, you have that pigment option. And I think that's how palettes should be. And I think this is the best formula they've ever come out with. And the color story is beautiful. And I really want them to make this a permanent palette. So Colourpop, please make this permanent. And please collaborate with Raw Beauty Christie again. Okay, so that was all of my Colourpop palettes, all 25. Thank you if you watched to this far. There's some other palettes they've come out with this year, like the Lush Life one that I still kind of want to get, and I think people have said it's one of the best ones they've come out with this year, so I might eventually on sale. But let me know what you think of my rankings. Let me know what your favorite Colourpop palettes are, and if you would rank, how you would rank these. I like to see what people think. If we disagree, just be nice. There's no reason to be mean. It's all makeup. It's not that deep. So I hope everybody has a great weekend, and thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.